what I loved about Coach Cass is that she has a daughter. And there was somebody in mind when she wrote this book. It wasn't just, oh, I'm just going to write this book to make money. I'm writing this book because I want my little girl to see representation. I want her to see herself. And so the motivation was so much more powerful than a publisher just going to get someone with a big name. And I'm not going to throw out names, but you name it. There's some very successful children's book publishers who don't even have children just because they have big names. And it's like, this is, we can change the paradigm. Because you didn't have to go through a publisher to do this. This is your book. You did it yourself. So congratulations again. But talk a little bit about that fear of being out there on your own.
Oh, of doing it by myself? Yeah. So I definitely was like, well, maybe I should shop this to some big wigs and try to make it happen. And, when I started to look at it, it's a different game, and for me, my end goal is to be a cartoon on like a PBS, for this to be a mainstream cartoon. So just the background of why I even got into this, right? Why the Love Coach writing a children's book is my daughter's 3rd birthday was coming up and I wanted to do a Black princess birthday party and couldn't find a thing. And everybody says, well, what about Princess Tiana? She had nothing to buy, right? And when you look at it, like Karen mentioned, she was a frog for 80% of the movie, right? So when I started to think about it, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I should create like a small character just for my daughter Ava, put it up on her wall. And when I showed it to Ava the first time, she looks at the image. She goes, Mommy, I don't want this one. I want the other one. I want the white one. Girl and man, I didn't even know it was that deep. My girlfriend was at lunch with us, started crying, and she happens to be white. She started crying. She was like, oh. And that's when I realized it was deeper than what we thought. So you remember that test back in the day of the black doll versus the white doll, right? And all the kids, no matter the race or the culture, chose the white doll as smarter, prettier, better. It wasn't because anybody said that per se. This is what I realized. It's because no representation. When you turn on the television, you have to search. When you turn on YouTube, you have to search for a Black lead character that's a small child. Like, it's just not there. And yeah, Tiana is like this teenager, but once again, she's a frog and she came from like this poor house, so this is a little girl that's from royalty, right? So Princess Zara is from royalty. Her daddy teaches the young men how to be young men. Her mama teaches the young women how to do ballet, Queen Adana and King Zahir. And her main cause is to spread love, right? To spread love, solve the world's problem through spreading love. And it's not that she's Black, but because she's a princess, right? So my vision of where this can get to is just like little girls want to be Elsa, Anna, the rest of the princesses that are out there. Because, there's a huge variety in our Caucasian princesses, white hair, blonde hair, red hair, Well, our Black princesses, we got, one, if that? Right? So being able to have another princess, but the princess that comes from royalty, that all little girls will say, you know what? I see myself. And it's exciting because for the kids that are getting the book right now, like, they're like, Mommy, that's me. And people are sending me videos in on Instagram and social media. And it makes me cry, y'all, because I'm like, wow, like, this is actually working. And even my little white girls that are getting it are loving the story, So for me, big thing is the fact that I put it out there, right, Karen? Because, when you put a book out, that's like you putting your heart on the table, right, Sina? And you're like, okay, all right, y'all tell me if you like it. Do you like it? And the fact that the parents are saying, yo, my child wants to read this every single night for story time, it like does something to me. Like, I'm happy that I did this the right way because, like Sina was saying, like, as a creative, you kind of just want to be like, all right, I did it, Mom. But I feel like I did the right steps I even read it to a couple of kids to see if they'd even pay attention, so it's been a beautiful process for me.
Well, they can't not pay attention to you because you're ebullient. Dr. Cass, Coach Cass is in the building. Talk also about, because you're not an artist, because I think a lot of people also say, well, I'm not an artist. I can't draw. So how do I do this? Or I can't, right. Tell them how you got that. How'd you get Princess Zara?
Okay, so essentially what I did is I looked on all those websites that you can look on when hiring an illustrator. So there's Fiverr, there's Odesk, there's Upwork, there's there's quite a few different sites that you could hire individuals, whether in the country or out of the country, and you could just see their style, right? Because I personally know animators and illustrators, but I didn't like their style. So I saw Mudassir, right? That's his name. I saw his work, and I liked the way that he drew, right? So then from there, we worked on the first character, which was Zara. I sent him a picture of my daughter. I sent him a picture of my family. I sent him a picture, and I said, oh, wait, can y'all see that? So yeah. I sent him a picture, Adorable. And then this is, how he ended up drawing us, right? So I think he did a pretty good job. So, yes, this family, in terms of looks, is based on me and my family. Because, part of me was wondering if it was going to be a problem with the light-skin, dark-skin situation. I was like, you know what? Listen, if I'm going to make sure I have my picture on the back of this book so y'all can see where it came from. Okay?
Right.
So it's a reflection of my family, like it or don't like it, right? So, that's how I found the illustrator.
And I think it's important, when we talk about representation, and a lot of folk listening to our show are not necessarily from the global majority, even though they're part of our family. I think it's so important for the development of kids that grow up in so-called white homes, because, again, these races are made up construct. But if we don't ever show positive images of other people, your children grow up believing the propaganda about a group. I had a conversation this week with a friend of mine who's Indian. And I said, you come from a culture of Asians that are the exceptional immigrant. Y'all are considered smart, and you contribute. You come in as doctors and pharmacists and this and that. I said, but you come in with these notions about black people that you brought over both through colonization and what you're told when you get here. And nobody wants to be black, because that is negative on so many levels. And it's primarily because of what's exported and what this country also says about us. So it's important that there's images, but it's even more important that if you have children and you're not black, that you sit them down and have books like Princess Zara to read to them.
Oh, man, Karen. So studies show, right, like the main racists and such, where did they learn it from? School. Like, think about it, right? So it's 28 days of Black history, and then otherwise, what do our textbooks really look like? They're pretty whitewashed. So diversity in the home in terms of books, like if you look at my bookshelf, I have Black and white, I have Hispanic and Indian, and I look out for those types of books. So I got a little bit of everything when it comes to books for my daughter, because I want her to see that the world is not just one color, right? We have different cultures, different races, and we respect those cultures and races. So I am on board with you, girl.